Simon, you ready for game one?
As ready as you're going to be. I think this time of year you've probably got 9 coaches who figured they'd like another week to get them ready, but no, it's. I think we've had a longer pre-season than most teams. A lot of teams have been missing players. We obviously were missing Creaky, so we've had to bring him in quickly. It's unfortunate we didn't get a game with him, but we did have an intra-squad game with him on Friday, and he performed pretty well. So I think we're as ready as we can be at this time of year.
Is the fact that he's adjusted to so many different teams during his career, like short stints here and there, give you faith that he'll just be able to step sort of straight in?
For sure. He's a pro, and he's with Adelaide for the most part, just Adelaide for such a long time, so he knows that stuff inside and out. But I think what we've seen with Mitch over the last 18 months, he's played with the Booms, he's played with Long Island, he's played with Brooklyn, he's played with Minnesota, and he's been in camp with Utah as well over at Summer League. So, he's become that cerebral professional basketball player where he walks into a gym and he can pick up things really quickly.
What about Gebo? Where's he at?
Gebo did a workout on court 2 today. I haven't caught up with the medical staff since practice, so I'm not 100% across where Gebo's at. He's had some calf issues throughout pre-season. We've been really conservative with him and making sure that we keep him for the long haul, not try and whack him in there, and this is an ongoing issue. So we're doing our best to get him on court as quickly as possible in a safe environment. We're just not sure. I'm just personally not sure where that's at right now. I do know that the progression over the last 4 or 5 days has been quite good for him.
Yeah, otherwise they've got a full squad to pick from.
Yes, we do.
Kendall and Dane looked a bit crook last week as well. They're over it now.
Had a bit of a bug go through the group. I think John had a little bit of it as well, but those guys are good now. They're fine to go.
Is there a sense of history from your point of view in terms of being the first game of this club? Do you address that at all with the players?
We've had a bunch of firsts. Like when we went to China, that was our first game as a team or as a club. Then we had pre-season, it's our first game in Australia. Then we played pre-season against an NBL team, it's our first NBL game. So it's a bunch of firsts. I think the guys are over the firsts. Whilst the historical significance will probably no one will remember in 3 weeks' time. But I think we're just really building for Melbourne United, not so much the first game of our careers.
What about for you as a personal rivalry, given your coaching history? Do you see that on Thursday night?
I haven't really put a lot of thought into my personal rivalry. I know it's probably a cliche and boring thing to say, but it's really just it's just another game. It's our first game, and I'm not treating it really any differently than what we had than our other pre-season games. Other than we've had a little bit more time to prepare and have a look at our opposition. So we'll go in more prepared than what we have in the other pre-season games. But the personal aspect to me is I'm not feeling any of it at all, to be honest.
Do you feel like the team's going to really hit the ground running despite, I guess Mitch is really the only sort of the missing piece, I guess, but you're pretty confident that you're happy with where you're at in terms of game one?
Yeah, I think we got an earlier start than most of the other teams in pre-season. For that reason, every other team's bringing back a core of 4 or 5 players, some of them 6, 7, for which they can build around. So they can start later and they just fall into place. We've had to build that core from scratch. So really important for us to get that start. I feel like from an offensive standpoint we've covered that, and we feel like we've built that core. The guys are really working off each other really well. I think when you look at expansion teams throughout history, the issues at the defensive end of the floor and getting everybody on a string and working together. So we've paid a lot of attention to that, but the proof will be in the pudding as the season goes along.
A lot of people talk about the culture that is important to expansion clubs and that. Has the team done anything particularly like to bond? I guess you've been away playing and stuff like that, but did you do anything from your training or anything special to?
Yeah, no, we have. Look, part and parcel of when Tommy and I started putting the team together was we wanted people who were rooted in strong cultured people, people who are tough, people who accept responsibility, people who are willing to look at their teammates in the eyes and call each other out. It's been a big piece of what we've done in pre-season and in creating an environment that people feel safe to call out their teammates, that people feel like they're not getting called out or picked on. Everything's done from a constructive standpoint. So it's been a really big key in everything that we do on every day on the floor. But I've also done some exercises off the floor as we've gone away on the road. So when we went to China, we had a meeting and we talked about culture, and we had some exercises that we put in place. When we went to Maryborough, the same thing. We went out and we did a whole bunch of culture building exercises. And just recently we went to Traralgon. We also did some more. So yeah, it's been a constant on the go. We've been pretty happy with the results that we've got from the players.
Dave Barlow's got a bit of a cloud over him at the moment. Does that have any effect on your preparation? How do you sort of address that?
They're a pretty deep team. Dave's a wonderful player. He certainly is probably the premier stretch four in the NBL. It will allow us to shrink the floor slightly from a defensive standpoint, but you put Casey Prather in that 4 spot and all of a sudden you're back in that bench spread. So look, Dave being there provides us with a semblance of predictability, which can work both ways. It's safe for them, and you know what you get out of Dave. With Casey there, we're still not sure, what he brings. If they move Sean Long over there, we're still not sure how that works. So there's almost an element of, I almost wish, for Dave's sake, I wish he was there. He's a great guy. But from our perspective, it's like, okay, we're going to have to sort of experiment here. And I know that they've played without Dave during the pre-season, and they've looked pretty good doing it. So, look, there's an element of surprise for us and how we deal with that, and we'll push forward with that and go through the tape and really study how they were with Casey. I know he looked pretty damn good at the 4 spot against Illawarra.